What's up, everyone? This is Camden McInnis from the Books for a Better Life Google Hangouts. I'd like to welcome you all to the show. This week we have a returning guest. I interviewed her, I believe, my second show on this Hangouts live streams on YouTube, and I'm very excited for this topic. The last topic was a little bit geared towards men, but this time we have a very special episode, and this episode is for the ladies out there. We're going to be talking about what a woman can do to get hitched in 90 days or less. Linda, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
So I guess because I really don't know where this. This is a very interesting topic. I guess where we can start is what made you want to write this book.
Well, as you know, I wrote the men's book. It's called Mastering Women, and they can find that on Amazon in ebook and paperback, as well as the book that we're talking about today, Hitched in 90 Days. Anyway, I wrote the men's book, and I had so many women stop me and say, look, you've written the men's book. What about us? Why are you ignoring us? And I'm like, yeah, I'll get to it one day. And after hearing that for quite a long time, there was one lady who sat me down at her kitchen table and she says, look, this is how it's going to work. She says, I have 6 single females in my office. You have to focus. You have to write this book because women today, they don't know what they're doing. So anyway, it was the conversation that I finally had with her that I said, okay, I'll sit down and write it. I think in large part, women don't know how to be feminine today. They don't know how to attract. In other words, what they're doing right now is they're having sex just like men have sex. Women are being the aggressor. They're asking for the phone number. They're asking for the date. They're paying, half of the cost of the date, et cetera, et cetera. Some of those tactics work to a point, but in general, a guy doesn't want to go to bed with another guy. And if her behavior is too guy-like, he's not interested. I mean, most men kind of fantasize about being with somebody who is quite different than they are. Otherwise, what's the point? I mean, guys always say, oh, yeah, I love it when she calls me. Oh, yeah, I love it when she pays for the date. But the reality is that emasculates the guy, and then the guy doesn't feel good about that. So anyway, this book is how to get what you want as a female, but do it in a more feminine way to where you're not acting like a guy.
So what would be your personal experience in this area? I know that from reading your book, you had mentioned that in one case you actually had a man that you dated ask you out on the third date. What was that like?
Yeah, propose to me on the third date.
Yes, sorry, yes, proposed to you.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the book is about. In fact, I'm kind of using the word hitched in a very liberal way. I don't expect couples to get married in 90 days. That is too fast. But my definition of the word hitched is that if you do the techniques in the book, even if you only do a few of the techniques in the book, the guy will be so bowled over that he will have to propose within 90 days. So, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's my advice that you should still do the 1-year engagement thing, because you want to go through all the seasons, you want to meet their friends, you want to meet their family, you want to know what this person is about in many, many different situations. Obviously, 90 days is not enough to get married. But if you're doing things right, it certainly is enough time for the guy to know that he wants you in his life and he wants you, alongside him.
So what would be some of the things that you would tell a woman when she first meets a man to, I guess, what would be some of the advice that you would give to a woman to help her become more attracted to the man that she's most interested in?
Yeah, the dynamics are different. That's, part of the brainwashing from women's lib from the 70s is that the women of the day told everybody, and it's a complete lie, told everybody that the sexes are the same. Women thought back then that, okay, I'm going to work now. The reason why I'm going to work is because of the invention of the pill. Up until then, they were barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. And, they had no control over their bodies. Now, with the invention of the pill, they could decide what to do with their lives. They could delay pregnancy. With all that power, they figured, okay, we're just going to go to work just like a guy would go to work. So what women have lost today is that they don't understand that there's different energy. It's male energy to be the aggressor, to take a risk, to come forward to you first. And the reason why that is because of our caveman roots some 10,000 years ago. He and his buddies had to leave the camp and go hunt, for food. And they might be out there for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, however long it took to catch the prey and drag it back to camp so the camp could, the whole village could eat. That's the male way, is to be dynamic and take a risk and, go out there and be the aggressor. Women today are acting just like men, and it's not working. The female way is she might have thought of these things. She might, be really interested in the guy, but you have to do it in a feminine way. Feminine energy is to get that guy to come over here without saying anything. You're attracting, you're magnetic. That's female energy. So it might be the female's efforts to get that guy to walk over here, or get that guy to ask you on a date, or text you or exchange phone numbers or whatever. But you have to do it in a way where he doesn't even know what you're doing. It's a nonverbal cue. So it might be something as simple as you walk up, you get up off your table and you walk to the bathroom, but you walk by him in a very seductive way, and that might get his eyes over to you, to where he might say something like, she's pretty cute. Maybe I should talk to her on the way back. So these are like small techniques that the girls have lost today. They really just don't know how to be feminine. They don't know how to attract. And that's why I wrote the book.
Very, very nice. I know from my own personal experience now in the whole dating world is that, yeah, you are absolutely right. The I guess the interaction between men and women has actually changed a lot, and so much so also feel like I kind of feel bad for a lot of women as well. There was this past week, and there was a festival in my city, and I had actually approached a girl I thought that was very attractive, and when I approached her, she was shocked. She had told me that this was the first time this had ever happened to her. A random stranger walked up to her on the street, and it just kind of blew me away. But what do you like for women who are having a hard time getting the guy to come over? Do you suggest that they do turn up the aggression a little bit more and kind of approach the man that may seem a little bit timid, or do you think she should just say forget about that guy? He's clearly not assertive enough or aggressive enough to be with her. What's your take on that?
Well, unfortunately, a lot of guys, because the women today are being the aggressors, a lot of guys have taken a back seat, and they're reveling in the fact, like, wow, I hate rejection. So this is like super cool that she's calling me, that she's taking the risk. There's a huge problem with doing it that way for guys. First of all, the guy loses control when that happens. Second of all, yeah, the girl might approach you, but that doesn't mean that you like the girl. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like a lazy man's way out, that you want to be the hunter, you want to be the aggressor, because you want it to be a girl that you really want to go out with. So when she's approaching you, maybe you say yes because you're lonely or bored or hungry or tired or, horny or whatever. You might say yes, but it's like a default yes. It's not somebody that you really want to be with. So it's a very negative energy. And then lastly, if you let the woman be the aggressor, unfortunately, and this is just female behavior. It's just kind of like part of our DNA. Not that we're trying to be rude or mean. If you let us be the aggressor continually, guess what? In a couple of months, it'll turn to negative energy. It turns into nagging, controlling, conniving, like all these negative behaviors that you as a guy certainly don't want. The dynamic doesn't have to be lopsided. It doesn't have to be like on in our grandparents' day where the guy had 90% control and the female had 10% control. It doesn't have to be that lopsided. But what it does have to be is you have to be 1% more of a guy than she is. Otherwise, it's not going to work. You have to, I mean, it's not that you're going to abuse your power too often. You use it sparingly. But when it comes down to a stalemate, somebody's got to have the last word, and it better be the guy. Because, like I say, if it's too often the girl having the last word, she just abuses all that power. And then you don't want to be with some woman who's a raving bitch, who's always nagging you. It's not a good, healthy energy.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. So, so what are you saying that there needs to a woman needs or a man needs to assert himself so a woman can be in a more submissive place, not like as in he's better than her, but as he's more of the leadership role in the relationship. And I also really enjoyed the section in your book titled "Almost Every Guy," and it's where you try to like you try to communicate to your female audience the nature of men. How important do you think that is for a woman to understand the nature of a man and for it to translate over to the success of her relationship and connection with him?
That is such a good question. I'm glad you asked it. Yeah, it's hugely important. In other words, what I was saying a little bit earlier is you have got to stop listening to the brainwashing about the sexes are equal, the sexes are the same, because you just stay stuck. In other words, I mean, I have women who are 30 years old, 40 years old, and they still haven't figured it out. You know what I'm saying? And it's because they have the wrong assumptions about the dynamics of a relationship and how they should work. So you have to like leave all that brainwashing behind. And my book clearly lays out like how it does work, not how it should work, but how it does work. And there is a biological blueprint that our bodies follow, and it's there for a reason, and the reason why it's there is for the continuance of the species. So, you know, girls can get it wrong, but that doesn't mean that that's, you know, how it works best. In fact, a lot of girls today, they are being the aggressors, and they are being very mannish, and the guys are like going in the other direction. They're not responding to that. They're checking out. Guys today are not getting married. They're delaying marriage as long as possible. The average first-time marriage for a guy used to be like in his low 20s. Now it's up to 28 years old and still climbing. Every year that number still climbs. So guys are not being responsive to the girl being the aggressor and mannish. They are not engaging in sex. They don't want to be in a relationship with her. And they're just sitting home, you know, watching video games and playing video games and watching porn all day. They just don't want to deal with her. So whatever the women are doing, it's not working. I mean, does the guy want to get married? Yes, he does. Does he want to be in a good relationship? Yes, he does, but not with most of today's women. So that's what this book is about, is how to get your guy and how to make him think that he thought of it. You know, because that's the feminine way of doing it, is you have to let the guy lead. Because when that happens, you know, nature, speaking with nature and biology, that's how it works best. He has to feel
Yeah,
important. He has to feel manly. He has to feel like, huh, I thought of this. I thought of, you know, she might have walked by me, but I thought that I better, like when she comes back from the bathroom, I better say hi to her.
That's actually very true what you're bringing up, especially with the how men are checking out. I'm not sure if you ever heard of, have you heard of the MGTOWs? The
Yeah,
men going their own
yeah,
ways.
yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely think that you're right on as a result from that, because a lot of the main complaints with a lot of men in those groups, I don't completely agree with it, but I can definitely see why men are kind of checking out and deciding to avoid marriage, and some of them actually, like, which is a little bit crazy to me, decide to avoid women completely. Um, but like it was just very interesting that you brought that up, because men we really, a little bit of an aggressive streak, especially in the bedroom, is okay with when for a man when he has a woman, but to feel like you're dating another dude, it's just
It's a
it's
turnoff, right?
exactly. And you had mentioned, which is something that was very interesting, is that the point of your book is to help a woman convince the man that she is I guess, worthy of marriage or whatever, and to convince him that it's his idea to pursue the relationship and to pursue the marriage. What are some things that women can do to help convince a man that they would connect very well and bond together and possibly move forward into marriage?
One thing that is happening quite frequently today is the gold digger situation. I mean, I don't know if we want to blame it on reality TV and the Kardashians or whatever, but a lot of women think they don't have to do anything, and this Prince Charming will come along, sweep them off their feet, and give them everything they want with no effort. Back in our mom's generation or our grandma's generation, the females had effort. They were washing the clothes, they were pressing the shirts, they were having the meals cooked and ready at 6 o'clock. So there was a give and take, and everybody knew what their roles were. Well, today's woman doesn't want to do any of that. She doesn't want to put out any effort, but she wants the guy to give her everything, monetarily and materially. It's kind of not fair. So one simple technique that I use is I have, actually in both books I have this, only on the first date, make that first date only be a meet and a greet. It should be 1 hour or less. From the guy's point of view, that way you're not too invested, you're not spending too much money. I don't want you to go on a $200 dinner to try to impress the girl, because guess what? There might be no click. So if there's no click, you politely, get out of the date and say, I had a nice time, and you end it, and that's it. No, there's no hard feelings on either party. And if there is a click, then the way that if there is a click, then that woman is looking forward to seeing you again. And if she's looking forward to seeing you again, you have her right where you want her. You want her to be eager to be in this relationship with you. So I would take away going to dinner with her on the first date. So when I was single, I'm recently married as of about 3 years ago. This is my second marriage, actually. But anyway,
Congratulations.
thank you. When I was single, I would not let the guy take me out to dinner. So if every other girl on the planet is saying, take me out to dinner, take me out to dinner, this is what's expected, blah, blah, blah.
Brilliant.
Every girl wants a fancy dinner. The fact that I didn't do that, the guy would take a step back, like, what's wrong with this girl? Why is she so different? And that would make me stand out among hundreds of women, because I made it a point to never go out to dinner with them on a first date. So it sets you apart. There's a lot of techniques that a girl can use to set yourself apart. You're actually giving a subtle message to the guy that I'm here for you, not because of the fancy dinner. I have women that I have coached, and they tell me they're going out with guys that are old, tired, decrepit, bald, fat, like disgusting guys. And I'm like, why are you going on dates with these guys? And they're like, oh, but I got this fancy dinner out of the deal. I'm like, are you crazy? Really? I mean, so if you do techniques that are slightly different than what every other girl does, you raised up your esteem in that guy's eyes like 10 points, and you stand out.
Well, I even know for myself, for when I'm dating certain things like that, exactly like what you said, that the woman shows that she values spending time with me instead of necessarily what we are doing. Like all of my dates are pretty much the same. There's a park nearby my house. We go to the park. We feed the ducks. We might grab coffee or ice cream on the way back, or wherever. It usually doesn't end up in sex or something or anything like that. It's very simple. Um,
Hmm.
but what are your recommendations as far as first dates goes for women when it comes to sleeping with a guy on a first date? Do you think that's a no-no? Do you think it's a bonus? What's your opinion?
It's such a double standard. What guy doesn't want to have sex on a first date? Of course he does, but
Mhm.
unfortunately, it is a double standard, and as a girl, you have to, appreciate that, and I would say avoid it, because the likelihood that he does call you back, the day after is just so very small. Yes, it happens, but that likelihood is so very small. Like, why kill your chances, just because you got swept up in the moment? And it also breaks my other rule that you shouldn't be going on a long first date.
Hmm.
So even if you started walking around the park, I mean, okay, how long did that take? That's probably a 1 hour or less date, which I approve
Yeah.
of. But then by the time you like go have sex, and then now you're hungry, and blah blah blah, now that turned into a 3, 4, 5 hour date, which I don't agree with. Because as a guy, you have to get her in a position where she's eager to see you again. And if you spill all the beans all on day one, um, that eagerness is gone. So, from the girl's point of view, if you give up sex on the first date, he already got what he wanted. So, on his end, the eagerness is gone. Do you know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? So, it's not a good thing for her. I mean, I've heard of stories here and there that it does work out, but those stories are the exception, not the rule.
I definitely agree. For myself, like I wouldn't necessarily say that you know, judge a girl for sleeping with me the first date, but like you said, to keep it short. And any time that I've never slept with a girl the first time, I've
Yeah.
always felt I've always wanted to see her again almost immediately. As after sleeping with the girl the first time, I was a little bit, I didn't care as much. It's like one of those things where you want something, you get it, and then you don't necessarily want it as much. And so, yeah, I guess it is kind of crappy for women that way. So, yeah, I'm definitely gonna agree with that for sure. I also saw that in your book you suggest that women date 100 men.
Yeah, that was, I mean, like I was saying, I was recently single myself, and all of
Hmm.
these tips that I put in the book, I personally have tried myself. Some work better than others, but the one chapter that worked the best out of all of the tips that I recommend is to date 100 guys. Um, it's just so amazing. After you get to about the 30th person, you realize that it really has nothing to do with the guy. It just forces the girl, or the guys can use this technique too, by the way. But anyway, it forces you to take stock in yourself. Like, what is it that I'm looking for? Like, if you have to make up your mind quickly, and for a girl, this comes really easily. Girls usually know within 5 to 15 minutes if this is going to work out with this guy or not. 5 to 15 minutes. So there's no
Wow.
reason why not to use this technique if you're a girl. So anyway, after about the 30th person, you go, okay, I'm not going to deal with somebody who's a smoker. So if the guy is a smoker, done. It's like, what? Don't even go on the date with him, because I don't want to deal with it. Or if you're educated and you need him to be educated, and he's not that way, boom, on to the next person. I mean, you get really defined in what makes it work for you. And the cool thing about it is that the universe is an energy, and the more you put out into the universe what it is you want, the universe says, okay, I get it now. You're looking for this, not that, this, not that. And the subsequent guys keep getting better and better and better, because you have defined what it is that floats your boat, what it is that makes you happy. So it's a really cool energy. For guys, they can't use this technique as easily because the time frame on a guy is a lot longer. It usually takes the guy about 90 days to figure out if this girl is the one he wants to be with, opposed to her 5-minute rule. So that's why the book is written in 90 days, because that's the time frame of a guy.
Oh, makes perfect sense. Perfect sense.
After 90 days, he knows, I really want to be with this girl. And if you're the right girl, if you tick off the right boxes for him, he will propose to you within the 90 days.
Really, yeah, makes perfect sense. Like this book is amazing. One of the keys that I really do love as well is that if you can't root for him, let him go.
Oh, that's such a good one, because you know what? There's so many girls that try to see you as a home improvement project. Well, I like this and this quality about him, but these other qualities over here I don't like about him. So let's remodel this house. Let's remodel this guy and try to push him in this direction or that. Well, that doesn't work. Some key elements that a guy has to have to know that he's in love with you is he has to know that you respect him. So the fact that you want to change him means that you have not accepted him. Acceptance, as you'll know from my men's book, is also a key quality that a guy has to feel in order to feel love for her. So if you're not, as a girl, if you're not accepting him, that's a deal breaker for most guys. They don't want to be run by you. They want you to accept him and look up to him and respect his decisions and his actions. That's what makes a guy go. That's what makes him feel loved by you. So you're taking away something that is like a core need for a guy. So it's not good. If you, as a girl, if you kind of feel like, oh, I could change him with this and change him with that, he's not the right person. Let him go. Find a guy that you can look up to and respect and accept. That's the one that's going to make it work for you.
I 100% agree, especially when it's very stressful being in a relationship, especially as just as anyone, being with someone who makes you feel like you're not good the way you are, even though they claim to be attracted to you as the way you are. And there's been like many cases I've heard, and I've even happened to me as when I was younger, of a woman wanting me to change this or change that, or wanting my friend to change this or change that, and one of us, we would change, and then shortly after the relationship would end, pretty much because myself or my friend is no longer that person that the woman was initially attracted to when they first met. And yeah, that's actually a really dead on point. I 100% agree with that, because it's something that's always irritated the hell out of me. Because me personally, when I, like, everyone's going to have to compromise, in a relationship to a certain extent, but to actually try to transform that person, what's the point of being with them if, you might as well just go out and look for somebody else that fits whatever you're trying to do. But I guess that's just that. Maybe it's just an instinct that women tend to have to kind of change things, kind of like a project or something.
Yeah, they said, the old saying says, men want women to stay the same just as the first day that they met them, and girls want guys to always change. So you know, there's positive energy and there's negative energy. Changing him like a remodeling project, that's a negative energy. The
Mhm.
female energy, the positive female energy would be to inspire him. That, you know, that old saying, you inspired me to be a better man, or you made me be a
Mhm.
better man. That's cool. That energy is good. So in other words, if he has like a hope or a dream or a passion that, honey, I really want to build this business, or I really want to, you know, lay down this track, or I really want to learn how to play guitar, or like whatever it is, if she can be supportive, which is a positive female trait, supportive and inspiring for him to attain that goal, that's all good. But if she's trying to change you, like, you know, I don't like it when you get together with the guys, or I don't like it when, you know, you and your buddies go play basketball, you know, on Saturdays, and, you know, you're taking the time away from me, like all that negative stuff, it's never going to lead to anything good. Because
Just
really, at
fights.
at the bottom line of it all, it means that she's not secure with herself. So guys, if you're listening, don't get with a woman who's not secure. If she's like automatically trying to change you on all these things, that means she's not cool with herself, and that's why she's trying to change you.
Very, very, very nice. I also wanted to ask you, um, also just from example, like there are women, I believe Robert Greene describes them as sirens. That kind of like when they like walk into a room, they're like very magnetic. Their energy is very attractive. You know, guys notice them. Girls are jealous of them,
Yeah.
and it's not always necessarily to do with their looks, but kind of a way they can just carry themselves. They're very magnetic. What can
Hmm.
a woman do that's trying to look for a man? What can she do to become more magnetic and more like attractive when she walks into a room, or just like how can she carry herself and just become more just sexy?
Yeah, there are a lot of tips in the book with regard to that, but I would say that the girls need to brush up on nonverbal skills, because in general, men are not verbal. Women are verbal, but men in general are not verbal. So they are looking for a physical cue. It might be something like, you know, you lean your chin down and then you look up and away, like over your eyelashes, something like that. Men are looking for a visual cue, for a physical cue from the woman to, and that's how that woman will attract the guy to walk over here and start talking to her. So yeah, there's a lot of those types of tips in the book. She should brush up on those, brush up on others, but basically what it is learn the non-visual cues. Could be something as simple as how you cross your legs, or how you uncross your legs, or maybe how you're fiddling with your bracelet, or how you're fiddling with your hair, or like whatever it is. So you're going to try to adopt those skills that are not verbal but physical.
Okay. Okay. And what would you recommend for women who have gotten out of a previous marriage, or may have, or maybe a single mother? Um, do these tips work for them as well?
Oh, absolutely. They work for any woman. Absolutely. Because there's certain core standards that guys are motivated by. So you want to hit on what those core drives are and to maximize your efforts. Absolutely. They work for anybody.
Well, so would so the process wouldn't be different if like what
Oops. Are you still there? Hello, are you
Hello,
still
can you
there?
hear me?
Oh,
Yep.
there you are. Okay, gotcha. Um, well, one thing that single mothers do, which, you know, I know your son is important to you. I know he's, you know, he's every breath you take, but you cannot, you know, bring all of that to the table with the new guy that you're dating. just give it a rest. Like, everybody knows already that you're so into your son, but the new guy that you're dating, can't feel like second banana to a son. He's got to be the man of the house. He's got to be in charge. And when you put him, up there as a, you know, up there in esteem, he will take the lead with all of that. No guy wants to be second banana to your 7-year-old son. So you got to give it a rest. All those stories about my son this and my son that, save it for your girlfriends and for your mom. Don't talk that way in front of a new guy, because it's a turnoff. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. Oh no, no. Definitely. I've dated a few. Like, I'm 26. I've already dated a few younger mothers, and it's like I get it. Like, your kid is, but it's. I also have kids as well, and I don't talk about them 6,000 times a day to someone that kids. And I know this is slightly off topic a little bit, but since we're right there,
Yeah.
I remember I listened to a previous interview on when you were on Alan Roger Curry's show, and you had mentioned, and this is something I wanted to bring up last interview, but we ran out of time. But you had mentioned that there are some single mothers out there that are unknowingly sexually attracted to their son.
Yes.
What's that about?
Well, I think a lot of these women, they don't want to take ownership of what their decisions were. So let's say they get into a relationship, they have a kid. Oftentimes it's an unplanned kid. And anyway, the guy turns out that he's not an agreeable father. Maybe he was forced into fatherhood without his permission or without consultation. So if you just have a kid out of wedlock without informing the guy often feels trapped. And when he feels trapped, he probably doesn't want to have anything to do with you, because if you trapped him on this, what else are you going to trap him on? He feels like a caged animal, and guys don't like feeling that way. So, okay, so anyway, let's say, the two of you split up, you and the guy, you're now splitting up, you're now a single mom, you're raising your son, and, maybe some of the time the guy turns out to be a deadbeat dad. Maybe he's not paying his child support, maybe he doesn't want to have any interaction with the kid, or maybe he's not able to, maybe he's not able to be there for the kid, or physically able to be with the kid. Maybe he lives in another state now, or he took another job out of state, or whatever. So anyway, the mother is constantly bad mouthing this man for not being as parental as she is. I mean, women are parental because we carried them for 9 months, we gave birth to them, and our hormones dictate that we stick by the kid no matter what. I mean, in generally speaking, we have this parental gene. They want to assume that the guy has that same level of parental involvedness. Now, a lot of guys today actually are adopting that, which I see as a good thing. So anyway, she's bad mouthing this guy. So she does what's called transference. In other words, all the feelings that she would have wanted to get from the guy, she is now passing on to the son. The son becomes her new husband, in her eyes. So she's saying, the guy was rotten in this area and rotten in that area, so I'm going to raise my son to be, in my mind's eye, what the best possible man could be like.
Oh God, yeah, I see those
And so
statuses on Facebook all the time.
And so what happens is, those feelings are so strong that she eventually wants to have sex with her son, because guess what? She created this perfect image of what a young man should be like, and it's a very attractive quality to her. So she wants to have sex with him. And unfortunately, you'll hear more and more stories of this happening, that they do end up having sex with their sons. I know it's like been very taboo up until now, but I keep hearing more and more stories in this regard.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I think the call dropped.
Okay, sorry about that.
So I don't know where we left
Are you
off.
here? No, we were just talking about the sun.
Yeah.
Um,
So
and
she
I just
transfers those behaviors and those thoughts because she's raised her son in her mind's eye to be this perfect young man, and to take it a step further, she wants to have sex with somebody because he's like the perfect image of what she wants in a guy.
that's yeah, I remember you mentioned that on Alan's show,
Yeah.
and that was something that I just had to bring up. But I guess we'll get close to wrapping things up soon. So where would be the best places for a woman to meet a potentially good man for them to walk down, to get close to the goal of, you know, getting, finding someone that they're a good match with and getting married.
Well, I think the best way to meet somebody is through a common interest. So it's a natural venue. Let's say you're both taking the same kind of class. Let's say, I like photography, you like photography, we're taking a photography class. So you can make the icebreaker be about the activity or the event. And then through that, you can figure out if the two of you like each other. So that's always the best way. If you play sports, let's say you play tennis, she plays tennis, again, you've got a common activity to be the bond, be the glue, if you will, to bring you guys together. But outside of that, I mean, really, if you're open to it and you're on this mission to date 100 guys as quickly as possible, you can meet guys anywhere. I mean, you can meet them on the elevator, you can meet them, while you're waiting in line for something, while pumping gas. It's just a matter of doing what I call is second C. Second C means connect with that person. So, let's say you're on the elevator and the elevator unfortunately stops at floor 6, but you didn't want to go to floor 6. It just stops on its own. Then you just make a joke about it, like, whoa, is there something wrong with the elevator? And you just crack a joke or whatever. And that could be enough of an icebreaker to start a conversation. So it's just being open to it. As a female, you just want to be open and receptive, and smiling is always good. Again, that non verbal gesture. Like guys are looking for the physical gesture. So smiling might be an invitation for them to open up a conversation because they see that you're, being reactive to them. And they like that. Guys hate rejection. So any clue that you can give them that you're open to a conversation or you're open to the next step, it's there and ready for you. So you can meet people anywhere, really. I mean, to do it the easy way is probably online dating would be a good way as well. You go through the good thing about online dating is you go through a lot of people, and you know a lot about the person before you even meet them. Like you could read the profile or look at the pictures or whatever. So it's an easy yes and an easy no just based on what their profile is. So meeting them in person is just taking it to the next step. The bad thing about online dating is that there's a lot of liars. From a female point of view, so many of them are already married, and probably that was my first skill that I really had to get a handle on, is how to figure out if somebody is married or not, because they're not going to tell you. I mean, they're already lying, being online and saying that they're available when they're not. You can't flat out ask a guy, "Are you married?" He's not going to tell you. So, but there are some female ways that you can like bring it out in him without, using a verbal tactic to get it out of him. So, and once he gets tripped up on what those tips are, bam, he's out. So the good news is it's big in numbers, but the bad news is there's a lot of liars. So you just gotta take it with a grain of salt and do what you can, and just kind of get through get through all these people. Get to your 100 dates as quickly as possible. That's the best tip.
So so to get through the 100 dates, and what would be some last piece of advice that you'd like to give to your audience?
Yeah, I didn't even get to my 100. I think I got to 73 dates, and every single one of them was a first date and you're out. First date, you're out. I mean, I had good dates. I had dates that I really enjoyed. I had people I really enjoyed, but for whatever reason, it wasn't a click for me. And I had to make a decision, like in one date, can I figure out if I want to see this person again? Like I really wanted to look forward to seeing that person. So out of 73 people, only 3 people got a second date. And of those 3 people, I married one of them. So I would say in order to get that level of confidence, and confidence, by the way, is very sexy. Guys love it when girls are confident too. So in order to get that way, it really is a self-learning process. Like, what will I accept and not accept? And you'll find out by reading this book, you'll find out more about yourself. And when you yourself are attracted to you, if you would want to hang out with you, then it's easy for guys to also want to hang out with you. It kind of goes hand in hand with that. The better you feel about yourself, the better quality guy is going to come around. It's just like the law of nature. It's the law of the universe, that you attract what you put out. So much of the book is rediscovering yourself and dusting off those habits that just don't work for you. I mean, a lot of women do a lot of habits and they keep ending up with the same roadblock, the same dead end, and they don't know why they do. But once you see it clearly, like, oh,
Yeah, no, that's a very interesting take. Like this whole entire discussion has been awesome. Um, like I read through the book, and a lot of the advice is very similar to what was in your Mastering Women, but um, it was, I would say, it was what's really needed and very honest compared to a lot of the advice that women would get from other places. So, Linda, I really want to thank you for coming out onto the show. Everyone, if you're interested in Linda's book, it's called Hitched in 90 Days or Less. You can find it in the description. And once again, Linda, thank you, show.